Welcome in, everyone. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all in the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop me a comment, and click the bell icon for all notifications to know when I go live each and every single weekday on the YouTubes. Guys, it's good to be back. As you know, I was doing a little bit of business travel the prior end of last week, so I also lost a weekend in the process. I woke up this morning and I was like, man, feels good for it to be Friday. Oh wait, the whole weekend just went by and today is Monday. That is a little rough, but it was a good trip. I had a really nice trip. I was up in the Midwest. If you follow me on Instagram, you should know where I was at. So trip went well. And there's a lot going on in the markets right now that we have to talk about. A few interesting charts that I kind of wanted to update you on and give you my current thoughts on. Before we get into the charts real quick, it would behoove me, or not behoove me, but it's kind of hard for me not to comment at least on some of the events that unfolded this week and just a message I would share along to you guys. You know, it's been more than 40 years since there was an attempted assassination of a current or former presidential candidate running for office. And the one thing I would share with you, not getting political, the one thing I would share with you is I've kind of joked about some of it. I've spoken serious about it. The tensions in this country over the past several years have gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think one of the best things that you can do to positively contribute to all of the negativity that we're being surrounded by it is not partaking in it, right? It's kind of hard to miss a lot of the negativity on social media, whether it's on X or Twitter or YouTube. But I would encourage you not to feed into that no matter what aisle you're on, no matter if you're on the right or left, if you're somewhere in the middle or to an extreme. I would just encourage you to make sure that you're positively contributing because there's far too much hatred in the world, really, in particular in the United States. It's just sad to see. So with that being said, let's get on to a positive note, which is the development on price action on the charts here. So you can see Bitcoin has had nothing but a straight sort of run up here. Of course, I've seen a lot of people calling this a Wyckoff accumulation. We had our range deviation down here, and now we're attempting to, I don't know all the names of Wyckoff. I don't know what Jump the Creek is, and I forget. I'm not going to put up the schematic, but the point is, without focusing on Wyckoff, not saying that this isn't a Wyckoff accumulation, let's just keep it stupid simple, as we always do in this chart, and let's kind of evaluate what's going on, and let's ask ourselves the question, is this a true bounce that we can believe in? If so, what should we be looking for? Or is this nothing but a dead cat bounce? I will say high level as we're going through the charts, the one observation that I am making right now is that altcoins are in a very interesting position. There are a lot of charts that have double bottomed. There are a lot of Bitcoin relativity charts that are expressing a high degree of strength. And we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart and look at the relative weakness in that, and as well as the weakness in the US dollar that we know has a negative correlation overall with the crypto risk-on environment. And we have to ask ourselves the question, with all of these things setting up, what could this potentially result in the weeks and months to unfold? Now, as you recall, if you're following me on Twitter, I'm just going to keep calling it Twitter like I said. If you've been following me on Twitter, you know that I said that last week and this week would be critical weeks to determine in the shorter to mid-term where Bitcoin was going, right? Well, this week is starting off with a bang. Last week ended with a bang as well. On the 12-hour chart, again, what we want to watch for, very simplistically stated, if I sound like a broken record, that's because it's intended. We're looking for higher lows and higher highs to come in. The other thing, because we've been in a downtrend, right? We were in this accumulation range, but in the more immediate time frame, we were in this downtrend, right? What we obviously need to do, what I've spoken about, is begin taking out these lower highs. The first lower high here, the swing, is at 63.8. You can see we have tagged 63.8. We've come up to 63.8. Not only is 63.8 a major area of price confluence on the chart, but on the 12-hour chart, it also represents the region of where the 200 simple moving average is at. And we know, since we've broken below the 200 simple moving average, this entire range here is going to present a tough area to get above, okay? I do not anticipate some sort of a strong reaction up here where we just melt through all these price targets. This represented too much of a significant area that I spoke to in the past, that once we came back up into this region, it's not going to be easy to get back up into the mid-range up here and then start breaking higher. It's going to take a little bit of time. Now, what I did stress to you last week was that while I was high time frame bullish, I was low time frame bearish. Very accurate in terms of, or very objective in terms of how I came up with that, and I demonstrated to you why. I also gave you my educated view opinion on the fact that I did not think it was very likely for us to get some sort of sharp V-shaped recovery out of here. Now, with current price action coming in the way it is, it's at least giving us the opportunity that if this week, this is a very important week, and we're going to take a look at the weekly and 2 week and have a further conversation on the higher time frames. If this week finishes very strong, and we can talk about key price levels, there is a possibility we could have a pretty sharp V-shaped recovery here. This week could be very telling for us. So on the 12-hour time frame, what would I like to see out of this week? I want to get above the 200 simple moving average. So this week on the 12-hour, if we can get somewhere up into this zone around the 65.6 to 68, that would be monumentally bullish. I mean, eventually, if we can, maybe we roll over tomorrow. We have a red day. We're not going to go green every single day this week. We go red tomorrow. Maybe we bounce up here. If we can get up in here by the end of the week, that would be very bullish. But let's take a look at some of these higher time frame charts. Of course, we've spoken about this 54 RSI level being critical. If you didn't check out that video from last week, make sure that you check out. It was one of my live streams from last week. To be honest, I forget if it was Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But make sure that you check out the commentary there. I covered the historical significance of the 54 and 70 level on the weekly RSI. Now, very bullish to see the RSI popping back up above 54. Two things. One, this week has just started. There's a lot that could happen this week, okay? We could go down 20% for the rest of the week. We could go up 20% for the rest of the week, or we could be flat. If you've been here long enough, you've seen it all and know that 5 days worth of price action, 6 days, is a lot of time, guys. It's a lot of time. So we have to be patient and allow the week to develop. This is no strong indication at the moment of what we can expect for the week. We need the week to materialize more. We can get a little bit more comfortable with a higher conviction in terms of how the week's going to close out closer to the end of the work week on Friday, entering the weekend. Now, the second thing I wanted to comment on with the relative strength index is we're not necessarily out of the woods if we print above 54 such that we couldn't come back and hit this area here. Now remember what I said, if you're paying particular attention to the word choices I'm using. Did I last week, I have to think about the second statement, did I last week think it was more probable that we were going to see a move down to the 48 to 52 area before regaining our footing to move back up? Yes. Did I also state that Bitcoin likes to do the unexpected and catch people by surprise? Yes. So this move isn't entirely shocking to me. I would say it's leaving me feeling more confident that we're not going to come down to the 48 to 52 area, but we can't rule it out, right? There's no reason that we don't form some lower high here. Okay, essentially this is a double bottom. We come up here and we come back down here and then we're in here for a couple months before we get out of here. There's no reason that can't happen. What I would say is the higher that we close this week, okay, the higher we close this week, and I spoke to some levels on the 12-hour, the more conviction it can give us that we're not going to be entertaining those levels. Okay, the lower time frames which were bearish begin to turn around and turn bullish, and all that bullish momentum on the lower time frames will continue to sustain and move into the higher time frames, fueling the views on the market that we're more focused on, or at least we should be focused on, which are the higher time frame views. Now, the other thing that I wanted to point out on the weekly chart, I'm surprised I don't have the MACD up here. Oh, I do. What the hell's going on with the MACD? I don't know what the fuck is going on with the MACD. We're just gonna... My apologies. Let me comment on the stochastic RSI first. So the nice thing, again, this is a weekly chart. The nice thing that we're seeing on the stochastic RSI, let's just zoom in on this. You can see that right now we had a little bit of a fake out back here in June, but right now, typically, what we want to see in general on any chart, it doesn't matter what chart we're assessing, we want to see a positive cross in the stochastic RSI, okay? And we want to see a bullish confirmation cross, which is when this blue line gets above 20, okay? Blue is above orange, and we're above 20. Historically on the weekly chart, when we have seen these stochastic RSI crosses on the weekly, and even more so on the 2-week, which we'll get into, they have spelled a significant run to the upside. And prior to the end of this live stream, make sure that you hang around. I am going to give you my thoughts in terms of where I think the market is headed going into the new year. Now, on the MACD, and I don't know, again, I have no idea why the MACD isn't on here. So I got back yesterday, and I hadn't charted all weekend, so I did do some charting last night. Not too much charting today, but did some charting last night. Now, the nice thing to see on the MACD, depending how we close this week out, what we want to see on this MACD is it's not just the blue crossing above the orange and we're trending up. It's also this histogram, what can be a leading indicator to also tell us that things are beginning to turn around. Not just the shape of the MACD curve, but also the histogram is another thing that you can take a look at. So we're starting to flatten out there, which is a good sign. Where would be an ideal level to close above? Using the weekly as a guide. We'll mark it out here. We'll see if, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you an area to watch for, that we will watch for, at least on the weekly. Now, I gave you the region on the 12-hour, right? The 12-hour, it's telling me, I mainly want to get above the 200, which is around 64,700. But really, anywhere between 65.6 and 68, that's what the 12-hour is telling me. And again, what I'm doing is I'm independently assessing each chart to see where the price confluence is that lends itself to more of a bullish narrative going into next week. The more price confluence we can find on these different charts, the more conviction it can give us in terms of when we start to flip those areas of resistance into support, giving us an increased level of confidence regarding what we're seeing within the market. Now, what I like to see on the weekly, well, and I'll tell you how I'm coming up with this price level. So on the weekly, I think the minimum would be closing at or above this price level here, which looks like it's 64,000. So if we can close the week above 64, that's a huge win for us because we're getting above this entire candle here. We're re-entering this zone. Now keep in mind, here we were down here, here we were down here, here we were down here, here. So we're negating all of this price action, right? So at the bare minimum, I want to see us close the week at 64. If we can close this week at 64, it's giving me increased confidence we're not going to see 52 to 48. But what would leave me feeling even more convicted? What would leave me feeling more convicted is if we could get a close right around 66,300. We're just going to say 300, keep it nice and easy. That would be a very nice level to get above because now what you're doing is you're negating all of these candles here. and this candle here. So I'd like to see us close this week somewhere between 64,000 and 66,300. Now, hell, if Bitcoin wants to close above 66,300, by all fucking means, go ahead. But I'm trying to give you a sensible range to watch for this week to close to get increasingly bullish that we're not going to be going lower. The low is in, and we can expect, by the way, and I'll get into this, new all-time highs a lot sooner than people are thinking. Did you hear me? A lot sooner than people are thinking. If we close below 64, then the way I'm looking at this chart is, I mean, it's just another lower high. We double topped here, and there's higher probability we're just going to roll over and go down to the 48 to 52 area. So we'll just have to see how this week closes out. Now, if we go into the 2-week, I love what I'm seeing on the 2-week. We talked about this moving average, which was the 9 exponential moving average on the 2-week and the significance of it. You can see here, we got a fake out and popped above it. Could this be another fake out? Now, this one's going to take a bit of time to print. Okay, this one's going to take a bit of time to print because we just started this candlestick this week, which means we have to run through this week and next week in order for this candlestick to print. But one of the nice things I like to see in general, I always tell you that the charts tell us a story. Each candlestick tells us a story. There was seller exhaustion, major seller exhaustion. There was a wick on the weekly candlestick that went from roughly 750 all the way down to 53,500, meaning in between those two price points, seller exhaustion. Buyer stepped in and snatched that shit up. So, snatch that shit up. Feeling more and more like myself every day. All right, let's get into the price indicators. Now, I'm going to, for the moment, although I do want to pull something else important up. Ooh, I was taking a look at the top gauge indicator, which, if you'd like to take a look at that, feel free to subscribe to Tech Dev's newsletter. Look at this nice upsloping line that we talked about last week on the relative strength index. Again, price and RSI at times, they like to tell us a very similar story. We can draw different formations on the RSI. We can also use trend lines, as is in this case. So you can see we had a touch here. Got to make this line different. Good God. You can see we had a touch there, a touch here, and we had just about a touch there, right? So could we have bottomed? Could we have bottomed? If we have, we are literally just below 70 at 66.6. I'll say 66.5. Never like to throw those 3 6s out there. But we are just under 70. So what that's telling us is we're in a really healthy bullish range. Getting above 70 would historically be pretty nice to see on the 2-week RSI. But also the other thing it tells us, if we have, historically, we have plenty of room to the upside. We can go up into the 90s until we really start to get concerned on this chart, historically speaking. The other thing, I don't know if I want to take a look at this on the weekly or the 2-week. I did want to still take a look at the 2-week with you, but there's something else we didn't look at on there. Maybe I'll save that for another stream. Okay, let's take a look at the MACD real quick. Or excuse me, let's take a look at the stochastic RSI. I'm not going to worry about the MACD on the 2-week for now. But the stochastic RSI, again, one of the most basic things I like to do when I'm assessing momentum within any chart, within any time frame, is to take a look at the stochastic RSI. The stochastic RSI is going to be a key indicator to tell us how much momentum is in the chart, okay? So in this case, on the 2-week, you can see not a whole lot of momentum. We're trending down, right? But if these 2 weeks, this week and next week, come in bullish, what that has the potential to do is to completely change this shape and get some sort of a positive cross to get back above 20. Typically, in the past, when we've seen these crosses, okay, like we saw back here at the beginning of 23, or actually technically at the end of 22, and we saw mid to late last year. Typically, when we have those positive crosses occur and they're above 20, that has historically implied a huge run up in Bitcoin and the rest of the space. So this is something we're going to be watching for very closely. But again, we're not going to see a print on this until not this week, but next week. Now, interesting story here. This was also something that this was already something I was beginning to hypothesize before we started moving back up here. But I at least wanted to set the stage for the next print of this candlestick. I just want to focus on this price action, okay? This candlestick right here. Now, what is the shape of that current candlestick? It is a green hammer candlestick, right? Remember, we had assessed the weekly chart, and the weekly chart told us, hey, there was a green hammer in down at 58 level. That was telling us most likely the bottom was in. But then we had this gravestone doji. Higher time frames generally went out. They have more credibility as long as there's enough data. More credibility associated with it, given it's a higher time frame view. So we can put a little bit more weight on how much we believe that, okay? So the 2-month time frame is going to outweigh the weekly, and it did. So the gravestone doji did tell us a trend reversal to the downside. Now the interesting thing is, I want to tell a potential story that could be coming in by the end of the print of this candle. I have a feeling that what we are going to see, and maybe we'll come back to this video, or I'll put this segment up on Twitter or something, and everybody we can watch it together. But I have a feeling what's going to happen by the time this 2-month candlestick prints at the end of August, it's going to tell us a story, which is basically that, hey, we needed a trend reversal to the downside with the gravestone doji, with the wick all the way up here towards 74,000. We got it. We came all the way down here to 53,600. We now had a huge wick down in this area. We mostly printed the 2-month candlestick green, a green body, and that's telling us a trend reversal back to the upside. So there's a tug of war taking place. Ooh! There's a tug of war taking place between the bears and the bulls, right? And price is sort of kind of caught in between that zone. And ultimately, I think this 2-month candlestick has the potential to be the one that tells us with conviction that we are about to break all-time highs if we haven't done it so by the end of August. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, obviously, if we blow past here this month and we have a nice thick green body here, well, then that's the end of the story for the bears. But it'll be interesting to see how this 2-month prints. It'll be very interesting because I was hypothesizing, like I said a week or two ago, that what we could see is pretty much what we're seeing so far, which is a huge wick down here, and the bottom is likely in here, and then a huge wick up here from several months back telling us the local top was in, okay? So let's get into some of the strength within the altcoins because we haven't gotten confirmation here. This is a weekly on Ethereum. One of the things I had spelled out to you guys, not only are we seeing some bullish momentum come into Bitcoin, which is helping to turn some of those bearish low time frame views around, which should turn, if it sustains itself, will turn my bearish low time frame view bullish, because remember, I'm bullish high time frame, bearish low time frame. Not only will it turn that price action around within Bitcoin, but it's also obviously going to give a lot of fuel to the altcoin market. But one of the things we should be asking ourselves, as much as we can simplify our lives and we can look at Bitcoin to tell us a story about what's going on, one of the things we do have to keep in mind, did I just say that? I feel like I just repeated myself. One of the things we have to keep in mind is that history does not like to repeat but often rhymes, okay? And there's no reason that things can't play out differently. Now, I'll give you the example, case in point, with the halving, and I'll go back to this constantly probably when I'm trying to illustrate this point. If we followed all prior halving schedules, we never would have seen an all-time high prior to the halving, but Bitcoin did something that it has never done before. Some of that also speaks to, again, there are no certainties, there's no 100% probabilities. It also speaks to the immaturity of the data. Bitcoin has not been around for a while, guys. So, the sample sizes you're going to use to assess various likelihoods on outcomes moving forward, it's a very small sample set, okay? You're not going to be able to come up with a lot of statistically significant things in terms of being able to formulate a hypothesis because you don't have a lot of data points upon which to draw them off of. But in this case, when assessing halvings, we did something this time. I'm losing some people here on the technical mumbo-jumbo statistical talk. I'll try to speed things up here. So what I'm attempting to illustrate to you is that we do not necessarily need to do the same thing we've done in the past, meaning there's no reason with some of the altcoin setups that I am seeing in the market right now we're going to get into, there is absolutely no reason that Ethereum can't start blasting off past $5,000 as Bitcoin is somewhere up in this range, and it still hasn't blasted through 74. Because keep in mind, if we go to Ethereum, the $4,900 is the prior all-time high from all the way back in 2021. Bitcoin's prior all-time high is just from a couple months ago. So I think it is entirely possible the market could behave a little bit differently. We could see Ethereum start to blast off here and break through 4,000 and 5,000 as Bitcoin is finding its bearings and just starting to break above $74,000. I certainly think that is a possibility. But what we are seeing on the Ethereum chart right now is we're attempting to get these price indicators to turn around, right? We talked about, look at the relative strength index. This is a zone we identified last week. It's between 55 and 58. We're trying to push back above here. So again, this is a critical week for Ethereum too. We want to see this relative strength index start to push up to closer to 60. And then again, momentum. We want momentum to continue to sustain itself. We don't want this week to finish weak and then just roll over. We want to see continued strength to come in here, okay? The MACD is also looking like it wants to turn around on Ethereum. Okay, it looks like it wants to turn around. We're trying to flatten out here. Now again, lower highs, lower lows. You got to show me something, Ethereum. But the histogram and the formation here is telling me that if Ethereum can finish strong this week, we could see a true turnaround in Ethereum's price. Which, by the way, I've said this relentlessly, for all of those who really felt like Ethereum was dead and Solana was going to flip Ethereum and all this bullshit, Ethereum is going to show you very shortly, in my opinion, why it is the number one altcoin. There are so many ERC20 tokens. You can say what you want about it. I'm not here for the fundamental conversation, just the chart. It has a beautiful chart. The other observation I'm just noticing right now as I'm looking at this, I'm literally noticing this live as I'm talking to you. This is a bull pennant. It's kind of, you can't draw that through there. But you can do this. You certainly can do this. This looks like a bull pennant to me, ladies and gentlemen. This is the pole. Riding it up, consolidate in here, and then break to the upside. Now, the other thing to keep in mind for Ethereum, and again, if I was looking for key price levels on Ethereum for this week, it would be very bullish if I change this area of resistance here to more correlate with, recent price action. So let's draw it right about there. If Ethereum can close at or above 36.50, that's a huge win, because what you're doing is you're negating all of this price action that you closed below. Okay, so if we can let's target this area. Hate when I leave the drawing tool on. Okay, apologies. What'd I say, 36.50? So we'll put that in another gray line. This is the area to watch for. We'll watch this week. This would be an extremely bullish scenario for Ethereum if we could get at or above 36.50 for the week. But what is the chart that's... It's important to assess the USD chart, but what is the other chart that we should be looking at for Ethereum to assess its relative strength to Bitcoin and to be a leading indicator to tell us what we can expect in the altcoin market. That is the Ethereum BTC chart. Now, a couple of observations on this chart that I want to update you on. First off, this is a monthly view, okay? Secondly, I'm pretty transparent with you guys. I have openly shared with you and laughed at myself when I've had bad calls, and I have claimed victory over good calls, good macro calls. So far, I have been spot on, minus one thing I'll speak to. I have been completely spot on with this chart so far. The only thing I have not been spot on about is timing. That's the only thing. But we're still, look at this green range. We have not, I've seen so many large accounts too, and names will go unmentioned, but we all have good calls and bad calls. It's just some people don't own up to the bad calls. But I've had a lot of people saying we were going to deviate all the way down here to this range and then try to make a comeback up. I said, well, I looked at this chart and said, well, it's certainly possible. And the more we hang out down here, it certainly increases the likelihood. But that's not my predominant view. So far, this chart has held up weight, and we have been consolidating for an extremely long period of time. The other thing I would like to point out to you in this chart, it looks like we're starting to break above we're starting to break above. Look at the descending resistance here. God damn it, I just changed this. Fuck. There. We're starting to break above this descending resistance. You can see us breaking above there. So it'll be very interesting to see if we reclaim this descending area of resistance as support. And then as far as price action, the other thing I want to talk to, look at the MACD. MACD is beginning to flatten out, wants to curl up. I mean, the last time we curled up on this chart, you can see when that was. What did Ethereum do during this time? Obviously, we had a massive run. You had your layer 1s, your layer 2s. You had your Harmony 1s. You had your H-bars. Ethereum itself, Ethereum Classic, which again will rise. That's something I've hit on many, many times, is that even coins I have shit on, a rising tide lifts all boats. The same story, guys. I just want to refresh your memory on something if you're kind of feeding into some of the market sentiment, which I know you guys, if you tune into this channel, you guys don't do that. But just in case, we're all human, we're all emotional beings. Just in case if you are feeding into some of the emotion and sentiment which exists in this market, I would like to remind you or inform you if you haven't been here. In prior years, when prices were at a relatively similar point in time, people said the same thing regarding altcoins, that they were dead, that there was never going to be a true alt season again, or it was going to vary in some way. And all we can do, while that may be at some point true down the road, that may be true, all we can use are the sample sets of data that we have, the sample data points that we have. We look to the past, right? And we want that past to tell us with some level of conviction what is most and least likely. And what is most likely, is that once Ethereum, everybody just stops and watches Ethereum, because you're going to see Ethereum up 15, 20% a day. Okay, mark my words, 15, 20% a day. And we're just going to be mesmerized by the run in Ethereum, and then all of a sudden you're going to see your altcoins. I mean, if you guys think some of the runs that you've seen, and I can't stress this enough, if you think any of the runs that you've seen to this point have been exhilarating this year or last year, you need to make sure you have your emotions controlled, because you haven't seen anything yet. You're going to have small market caps like a Wojak, which was up 26% today. I think it's had 2 strong days so far. It's having a massive break in price structure to the upside. Could end up tripling or more in price over the next handful of weeks here. But you'll have a token like that with such a small market cap in a narrative that is a predominant narrative within crypto. You'll have it easily up 120% in a day. More than double in a day, easy. That is a true alt season, when you truly see the Bitcoin dominance bleeding, because Bitcoin, not that it's not doing well, but it's sort of just status quo. Maybe it's still going up and hitting 85,000 or something, but your altcoins are just going to vastly outperform it. even the tokens that have done horrendous or have been underperformers. Look, Harmony One, huge underperformer. H-Bar, it's been okay. Mana, the Holy Crypto Trinity, it's been okay. Digibyte, abysmal. Casper, shit show. Synapse, I don't know what the hell's going on with that chart. I thought for a while that chart had the fundamentals, but the chart is the chart. Either case, the charts that have underperformed, a rising tide lifts all boats. And then that's where I say, it's not that those charts aren't going to go up, but you really want to, I took the opportunity to reshuffle things a bit during this time. And I want to continue riding my winners. It's not that the laggards aren't going to do something. It's not that I need to cut all of my losses and completely sell out of something, but it's reshuffling some of my position to feel more confident based on the emerging price data to say, this has been a really strong chart. There's nothing that's changed about the chart. It's continued to outperform everything I've had in these other things in my portfolio. It goes against my better self if I don't increase my position in this because it's just continued to outperform. Why would I want to do anything else, especially when I see us entering a part of this cycle when I think everything is just going to go batshit crazy at some point, okay? So just keep these things in mind. But the Ethereum BTC, guys, the whole point of us taking a look at this chart is we're entering a really interesting time here with the MACD and the relative strength index starting to break. Price structure to the downside and beginning to show some strength to want to break to the upside. For me to start feeling convicted on this ETH BTC chart, we're going to want to start making a run here from current relativity value. And I'll put it in layman's terms for you. I'm going to essentially want to start to see an outperformance from Ethereum relative to Bitcoin of around 40% for me to really start feeling convicted that this chart is significantly turning to the upside. This is a price point right about, and this isn't magic that I've picked this point. It'll be interesting once we get to 50%, 52%. You can see all the price confluence here. We have had a hard time. We've wicked above this area here, but we haven't been able to get above it. So it's going to be very interesting. But that represents a 50% appreciation relative to Bitcoin. Now, the other King Kong, ring ding dong, ring a ding 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 dong. Yeah, you guys know that song? Actually, I know. I was looking at my YouTube algorithm. I was looking at my YouTube analytics today, and I did happen to see that I think. Wait, I will tell you right now. Wait, what was it? Apparently, 48.7% of you in the past 365 days are in my demographic. You're in my age range. You're right between 35 and 44. So like half of you tuning in are in my demographic. I was surprised to see 20% of you are older than me, and by a fair amount it looks like. And then 23% of you are younger than me, between 25 to 34. And then you have your outliers in here. You got some 55 to 64-year-olds tuning in. Let's fucking go! Woo! I like to see everybody of all demographics. We are not biased on this channel. Everybody from all walks of life are welcome on this channel. One of the things before we get into Solana, I told you this was going to be a longer stream. One of the things before we get into Solana, I just wanted to share with you my top 10 thoughts. Okay, let's take a break from the charts for a moment. Actually, let me get into the comments. I haven't acknowledged anyone yet, so I apologize. These are my top 10 thoughts, and I'll see if I want to add any commentary to it. Ethereum may flip Bitcoin for the better part of a day or so. This is something I have spoken to on this channel for a while now, and I still think is a possibility. Sol is not flipping Ethereum. If Ethereum did nothing today at its current market cap and Solana ended up 6xing, meaning Solana went up to $900 while Ethereum did nothing at $3,400, then yeah, it would begin to flip it, but it's not happening. It gives you a point of comparison for reasonableness to say, hey, Solana's not flipping Ethereum. XRP sure as shit is not flipping Ethereum. I mean, look at XRP, man. XRP isn't even half the market cap of Solana. So XRP is going to have a hard enough time even flipping Solana, which I think is a possibility at some point briefly. But it sure as shit is not getting all the way up to Ethereum and flipping it. I think that's an absolute joke. Cardano will outperform XRP from current price levels to blow off top. We took a look at an ADA XRP chart last week, as well as if you just kind of look at what their USD values are today and what I realistically think they could go to, then yeah, I think ADA from current levels will outperform XRP. TON looks poised to continue climbing the ranks, so based on its chart, there's no reason TON right now couldn't get up here and flip XRP and start heading right in between Solana and XRP. No reason that couldn't happen. Doge will go past $1. So yes, I think that Doge will pull more than an 8x from current price levels. I don't have an exact price target, but yeah, I think Doge is going to end up flipping XRP. It'll flip TON coin. I think it has a potential to flip Solana as well. I think Doge is going significantly higher this cycle. And then my last bold prediction, and this will tie into the end of the live stream that I said you should hang around for. CAS will enter the top 10 by 2025. Now, whether, and I don't know if I want to say top 10 excluding stable coins or if I want to include stable coins. We could get technical because technically you can just look at the top 10. You can include Tether, you can include USDC, but if we start excluding those two, then really you're talking the top 12 or top 13 technically, or 14, excuse me, top 14. So yeah, I think somewhere in this 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 spot, Caspa is going to get to by 2025. But let's get into the Solana chart. So far, guys, I'm looking at a double bottom here. Okay? Looks like a double bottom, right? Double bottom. So I've seen a lot of pessimism come in about Solana. I saw some post about Solana going to 70. Not saying that couldn't happen, but do you realize if Solana went all the way down to 70, what that would do to the ecosystem? You take a look at WIF. You take a look at the rest of the altcoin market. One of the strongest altcoins in this space, if it were to have a more than 50% correction, your altcoins would bleed horrendously. I just don't see that happening. I mean, it's not to say that it couldn't happen, but the market's going to look a lot different. Bitcoin's going to be all the way down at 48.52 or lower. Solana's having a 50% correction, okay? But right now, I see a double bottom. This is the weekly. I see the MACD beginning to turn around. The relative strength index is a good level. It looks like it's bouncing off this 50 region. And look at the stochastic RSI. Momentum is beginning to come into Solana. You can see the cross above 20 right now. So momentum is certainly coming back into the market. Solana BTC, again, guys, this is the kind of chart you want, okay? You don't want a chart that is going down to the right. You want a chart that is going up and to the right, because what that's telling you is it's gaining strength relative to Bitcoin. Your altcoin, if it's going up to the right, is outperforming Bitcoin. You compare it against Ethereum. If it's outpacing Ethereum, it's going up to the right. You do not want to, mark my words, okay? George Bush from 1989 or whatever that was. No, read my lips. No more taxes. I don't know why that just came to mind. It does show my age once again, but for all those 50% of 48.7% of you out there that are in my demographic and the ones 55 and above, you know what I'm talking about. But what was I even saying? I don't know. I completely lost my train of thought. I know what I was going to say. So in your portfolio right now, man, I got to get to the comments in here. I'm seeing a lot of engagement, which is great to see. Thumbs up or light today. I saw a lot of people tuning in. No one's loving the YouTube algorithm today. I don't know what's up with that. I'm gonna have to think about what I can do to increase the likelihood of people just going boom and hitting thumbs up. It's really not that challenging. No, really, mark my words. I want you to remember me saying this. If you don't believe me now and you're caught up in some emotional hype about some project, just remember me saying this, because sometimes you need to make mistakes in the market to truly learn something, okay? if the majority of your altcoin holdings are in a BTC alt pairing or ETH altcoin pairing, okay, and it's going down to the right, your portfolio will underperform relative to a portfolio that is more comprised of a ETH altcoin pairing chart or Bitcoin pairing a chart that is going up and to the right. That is something that it's literally just factual data. It's literally data. I mean, you can't argue. You can hate the chart. You can hate the chart. You can look at a meme coin chart and be like, God damn it, XRP is supposed to change the world. You know? Cardano, the fucking inventor, is a genius in the community, and the chart is the chart. You have to respect the chart. If Wojak is a strong chart, why would you want to fight that chart? If Pepe or Whiff or Brett is part of a huge narrative that has strong communities, a big narrative, a lot of eyes on it, public listings on tier 1 exchanges, and the charts look phenomenally bullish, why would you want to fight that? Caspa, the absolute most bullish chart out there. I don't even know that I can say my opinion. I just think it is a fact. If you look at the Bitcoin pairing chart, if you look at the Ethereum pairing chart, the Solana pairing chart, and the USD chart, I don't know how you can't be. And that's just the technicals. That I've said with Caspa, you also have the benefit of having it might be, I don't know, a smart decision to increase my position in something like Caspa, which has been nothing but up to the right, versus, man, my altcoin has been bleeding against Bitcoin for 2 years. It's got to bounce at some point. It's so oversold. I'm putting more money into that. There's no reason that your asset, which has underappreciated so far relative to other assets, can't continue going down. You're going to get a bounce. You're going to get a bounce at some point. Yes, congratulations. A rising tide lifts all boats. It will go up at some point. But something I always like to refer to is opportunity cost. All the meantime, while you're riding something down, something else has been going up and you're missing out on that. I just don't understand how people miss that. The other thing that I'm seeing in this chart, beyond this thing looking up and to the right and beautiful, consolidating at this level, guys, do you see anything on this Solana BTC 2-week relativity chart that sticks out to you? I do. I see a pole. Here is the pole. Here is the pennant. Okay? We're consolidating in here. Sure looks like we want to make new I mean, this chart, let me ask you a question. Just ignoring what we're even looking at. Do you think looking at this chart, there's a higher probability that eventually in the coming several candlesticks, and this is 2 weeks, so several months, do you think there's a higher probability of coming up to here and at least, at the very least, testing all-time highs? Or does this chart look like it just wants to roll over and fall down? If you said the latter, roll over and fall down, I'm glad you're tuning into this channel because you clearly can't read a chart, okay? This chart is monumentally bullish. Honestly, do I give two fucks about the Solana ecosystem and the fundamentals and how many times it's shut off and blah, 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 someone flicked a switch in the whole network? I don't care. The chart is the chart, guys. The chart, this is what I tried telling everyone back in 2023. Down in this area, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can look at the video that I published on Solana asking, is it dead? Because everyone was saying it was dead. It was going to $1. We were all the way down in this price region. I forget when I published the video. It was either 22 or 23. We were either here. No, I think we were in this region. I think we were literally at the all-time bottom. I'm pretty sure I published the video in late 22. We had one more wick down here to like $8. We're somewhere, yeah, I feel like we were somewhere around $10. And then you can see we had a monumental run up. But the point is, this chart, there just wasn't anything that left me feeling like bearish. It just looked like a huge opportunity. And that's the challenging thing when you're assessing the market, is the greatest opportunities most times are when the fewest are expecting it or the majority are fearful. Now, it doesn't mean that you should catch a falling knife, but if you can read a chart and you focus in on the higher time frames and you kind of step back and take a look at price confluence, as long as nothing is structurally changing within the chart and breaking down, this is an opportune time to be buying in. And then if you're buying in at these levels, again, the other perspective is if you're buying in at this level on Solana, you don't care about the downside here. You're already up from 18, 10. I mean, you're already up like a 20x. You're up like a 10 to 20x. Why the fuck do you care about a 30% pullback? You could care less. A 50% pullback. You're up so high on your investment. So Solana BTC looks monumentally bullish. Now, the Bitcoin dominance chart, actually, before we talk about the Bitcoin dominance chart, I have not recognized a single soul on this video. Todd, super chats are never expected, but always appreciated, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going, guys, if you appreciate the fact this is one motherfucking long live stream, hit the thumbs up button. We are closing in on an hour. We're gonna tune out shortly, but there's just so many charts to cover. Juan, welcome in. Kind of answered those questions. Track, welcome in. Good to see you. Logical move from Norway. Raghorn. Today's not TA Q&A, Raghorn. I don't know what the hell's going on with that question. What's up, Evan? Good to see you, my friend. Evan, it's nice to see. Honestly, it is nice to see you. I always love when you join the live streams. And the thing is, I love that you're not blowing up the comments. This is beautiful. Look, you dropped 4, all right? And four's still a lot, but it's still under the threshold. So thank you. Thank you. It's good to have you on the stream. Let's see. One. Track. Jasmine looking good. Yeah, we can certainly take a look at it tomorrow. I know it's been a huge performer. Hanky. I think Hanky, are you still in that Jasmine of yours? You still in that Jasmine? Oh, look at Bitcoin. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. 64,200. Let's fucking go. 64,200. Look at that. Let's take a look. Look at these meme coins. This is hilarious. Wojak, Brett, Pepe, Whiff, Bobo, Meme AI. I told you guys I own a little bit of cock, right? It's only up 7%. A little bit of cock. Just for fun. These meme coins are really going. Let's take a look at the mid caps. ICP's having a great day. It's trying to challenge Caspa, which is a joke. Caspa's going to blow ICP away. It's funny. Near Protocol's having a nice day. Chainlink's having a nice day. Render. HBAR is having a very nice day. Closing in on 8 cents. Go HBAR bearings. Nice. Arbitrum. Okay. Yeah, market's looking great. Let's see here. Sorry I'm so slow on the comments today, guys. There's so much in the charts, and honestly, we're not even going to have time to get into any of the total 2, total 3 views, which I wanted to get into. We'll take a look at it tomorrow. DXY, we'll hold off till tomorrow. I think the stream's going long enough. We're still going to talk about Bitcoin dominance in a moment. But tomorrow is TA Q&A, and I also will kind of spill over some of my analysis into tomorrow. Now, guys, remember me saying this. We're having a lot of green in the market today. Great things. I spoke about price confluence, what to watch for, key price levels. More than likely, we're going to have a red day tomorrow. So let's all just all take a deep breath. It's all about taking stair steps up, okay? So if Bitcoin's down 1% or 2 tomorrow, let's not freak out. Ethereum ETF may get approved next Tuesday. Nice. Very bullish. We can take a look at Matic's chart track. I've been disappointed so far. It's really been a laggard. It's kind of fallen out of It's still in the top 20. Oh, wow, it's barely hanging on. 54 cents. We'll have to take a look at that chart because I know the last time I had assessed it, it looked, some of the price structure was just lagging, but the overall structure within the chart still looked fine. But I'd like to take a look at it with you guys, maybe on like a monthly and 2-week view to kind of assess it. We can take a look at Nordine. We can certainly take a look at Near Protocol tomorrow. By the way, one comment I would have, Nordine, not to say that Render won't pull a 20x, Near won't pull a 10 or 15x. I would cautious you from putting certain word choices into your mind. There's no certainty in this market. Remember, I've told you, people are so, you can even see, I mean, it proves the point that I've made in times past. There are certain psychological levels in any chart. And I've spoken about the nice round numbers, $1, $10, $100, $1,000. In this case, Bitcoin, $100,000. There is absolutely a possibility that Bitcoin never even clears $100,000 this year or next year during the blow off top. That is absolutely a possibility. We have to be open to that because there really is no certainty that people are liking to paint out there. Same with Render or Near. Sure, I know at least, I forget what, I think Near also has a very bullish chart. We looked at that one. Near and Render have very bullish structures to their charts, but it doesn't guarantee continued outperformance, and it certainly doesn't guarantee any price multiples. Just, yes, nothing is 100%. So just be careful because quite oftentimes, some of the things that we verbalize are the things that we inherently really do believe internally, right? So I'll give you an example. Caspa, which is, I've shared with you guys, is my largest altcoin position. It's at 18 cents. It's currently ranked at position probably 24. Yep. It's right behind ICP. So ICP and Caspa are locked in here. Now, I think this is going somewhere in the top 10, truly top 10 to 15, if you want to include the stable coins. Certainly, if you want to get really bullish, it could push up into the 8 or 7 spot. But I'm trying to be a little bit more level-headed and still very bullish and say somewhere between 10 and 15 in here. Looking at what the market cap could be for that, I've already assessed and given an analysis on that. I actually provided a logical analysis with a couple different data points to compare it to, and gave this price range of $2 to $4. Okay, so let's pick the midpoint. I think that $3 is a very real possibility for Caspa. But notice what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that Caspa is an easy 10x from here because that would get us up to close to $2, which is my minimum target. Caspa could fall apart. Caspa could underwhelm. Bitcoin could underwhelm. Caspa may only see $1. That's certainly a possibility we have to be open to. But again, this is why I love the analysis that I did for myself, for my sell strategy that I shared with you guys. It doesn't rely on a specific price point. It doesn't rely on a specific time frame. It allows historic indicators to tell us when things have gotten very overheated and we're going to start seeing things sell off. This is what history tells us. And there's not one chart. I'm not just looking at the Pi cycle. I look at the Pi cycle. I'm not just looking at the Pi cycle, though. It would be hubris to rely on one data point, especially when you consider the fact of how immature the market is. That would really be ignorant. It'd be foolhardy to do that. And so that's why I came up with 6 indicators, and we're going to rely on the majority of those flashing to tell us when we want to start selling out. So that's going to tell me when the market is most likely topping out. Bitcoin is still going, huh? 64,400. Boy, it's going to be an interesting end of the day here. Now, Bitcoin dominance. What is going on with Bitcoin dominance? Well, again, I'm not ready to call alt season. I have told you what we're looking for alt season, so I'm not going to reiterate that. But the thing that I would point out here is that the relative strength index continues turning down. Look at this downtrend. This is probably a better indicator here. Oh, come on. Motherfucker. Look at the downtrend here. In the RSI, look at, this is on the 2-week. Look at the MACD. Look at this MACD breaking down. Look at Look at this histogram right there, picking up bearish, okay? Things are looking very bearish for the Bitcoin dominance. And again, what I want to see and what's going to lead to this is Ethereum and Sol. Even your XRPs, Binance, Cardano, a lot of those larger market caps, when they start to move, okay, when they really start to move, what you're going to see is you're going to see a break in structure here. Now, we need confirmation, in my opinion, as I've shared, to break below 53. We'll retest 53. And then the true altcoin season is when you see that true break from 53. God damn it. And we see the lower lows and the lower highs coming in here, and we start going significantly lower. Now, we're going to get into the final concluding thoughts I have in terms of, I am too sexy for my shirt, Steady. Me too. I'm glad you are. I'm going to get into my concluding thoughts in terms of what I think is possible for the market going into the end of this year. Now, as you know, as I've shared with you, guys, I've been the one who has come out here and said, hey, I came out and said this last year. Said that my educated view is that the market is going to top within the first half of 2024. May, June, July. Remember that. That's what I said. I stuck with it until something changed within the charts. Well, something did change within the charts. We got, this doesn't look like a lot of price. Let's get into the weekly at least so you can fully appreciate it a little better. Something did change. We got a significant cool off because we ran so fast, right? So this wave 4 correction was a little bit deeper and longer than I had anticipated. Now, based on this emerging view, what I've said is I think it's very likely that this is going to go into 2025. Whether Bitcoin tops in January of 2020, somewhere in the first quarter or even the second quarter, I still think this market's going into 2025. That is still what I believe. That is absolutely still what I believe. Some of that is also based on my continuing education of the liquidity cycles. I think that narrative has charts to back it up, makes a whole lot of sense to me. I could see this running very well into 2025. But what is my shorter to midterm expectation? Well, if the momentum continues to sustain itself, we do the less likely thing. We break this bearish price action here. We never see 48 to 52 again. I think what you're going to see in the coming handful of weeks here is Bitcoin's going to break its all-time high. We're going to come up here into this range, somewhere up here to the 85 to 92 range. I was looking at exact price targets, but that's kind of off the top of my head. That's where we're going to see an initial top. Of course, there'll be a lot of people who will call this the cycle top. We, of course, know that we're going to rely on these indicators to tell us if that is very likely or not. I don't think it's going to be, though. Once we get up into this price range, you're also going to see Ethereum at that point. Ethereum's going to be well past its all-time high. Solana will be well past its all-time high. This is where you're going to see your first true strong altcoin run. And I think you're going to see a strong altcoin run for a couple months, okay? You're going to see dominance bleed. Bitcoin eventually will have some sort of a correction down to the 70 range, and then we'll continue with one final euphoric leg to the upside in 2025. And again, whether we top in the first quarter or second quarter, but that's in generalities what I expect. Now, what does that mean for your altcoins? I am expecting, if this pans out, again, this is contingent on how this week prints, the Ethereum and Solana views, what we looked at, and if our bottom is in, we're not going to 48 to 52. If this does pan out, I would suspect a very large run in your altcoins summer going into the fourth quarter of this year before your altcoins have a big correction. They'll have a big correction. Obviously, there's more risk in your altcoins, so just like you're going to see more appreciation to the upside, you're also going to see deeper corrections. So maybe you have a 25% pullback in Bitcoin. You're going to see your 50, 60% plus corrections in your altcoins before they begin topping in the first or second quarter of 2025, have their new all-time highs in 2025. And that's where we see the true cycle blow off top. And of course, this wave, for most of your coins, this should be the larger of your run. This right here, not this year, not this going into the fourth quarter or the summer this year. This shouldn't be the larger run. It should be the final euphoric where you're seeing distribution, where all the smart money, and we'll pay attention for that. The volume is picking up and then we're starting to scale off, okay? Money is distributing. That's where you're going to see retail coming in, and you're going to see your biggest pumps. But basically, if we can get a turnaround this week, there is a strong possibility with a lot of the strength we're seeing in Ethereum and Solana that we could see a pretty sizable altcoin season this year. We temporarily top. It's not our blow-off top. And then we have our blow-off top in the first or second quarter of 2025, with alts really having their parabolic run then. That is my current assessment of the market of what I think is most likely, given that the bottom is in and we're never going to touch 48 to 52. Now, I guess last point for some of you out there that pay a lot of attention to the CME gaps. Guys, two things on the CME gaps. I warned you about it. I warned you heavily about it in this area. I came out on Twitter and told people who kept talking about CME gaps, yes, there is a probability for those CME gaps to fill, but it's certainly not 100%. Let me answer this question. Do I think that this 48 to 52 area is going to get hit again? Yes. But the question is, will it be this year, 2025, or 2026? Here's what I mean by that. We can blast off from here, and then we can undergo a correction in Bitcoin that is consistent with the history of Bitcoin. If we theoretically topped, let's just pick a round top. Let's say we top at 125,000. And the level of correction that we ultimately experience in Bitcoin, well, maybe because it's a larger market cap, it doesn't have as high a correction. Let's say it has a, 68% correction. So 125,000 times 0.32, which is 1 minus the 68% correction, gives us a $40,000 price target. So the $40,000, if that ultimately was where we were to bottom, not saying we will, but it tells you that ultimately, yes, we'll come down, we'll fill the CME gap, we'll do whatever, and we'll revisit prior price confluence. I think no matter where the cycle top is at, I will tell you, it does make a lot of sense for us to even come as low as 28 to 32 with how significant that price action was. But that's talk for another day. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. But the point is, for everyone, the point of this conversation was everyone who's paying strict attention to this CME gap, it doesn't need to fill. And even if it does fill, the question you should ask yourself is, when will it fill? It doesn't need to fill this year. It could fill next year. It could fill 2026. So just be open to all possibilities, because again, I have told you time and time again, while my predominant view last week, until proven otherwise, was that we were going to come down here. It made too much sense. There's price confluence. This is where we're going to bottom out, somewhere in this range. I also spoke to price confluence in the 44 to 46 range and said, hey, we could get a wick into that range. It would make sense. We always have to be open to the possibility that we're going to do the unexpected in this market and catch people by surprise. That is what we are in the midst of possibly doing right now. Possibly. It is so early in the week. We have to allow the week to play itself out. And I've given you the key price levels to watch for. Guys, I will be back here tomorrow to assess some of the total views, the Dixie, the DXY, US dollar, anything else that I can think of. And again, tomorrow is TA Q&A. I do anticipate being live around the same time, somewhere around 5:15, 5:30. I will be here tomorrow. I will be here on Wednesday. Thursday, I do have an appointment, so I don't know if I will be able to make it on Thursday. If I can't, I will try to make up for it on Friday. But in any event, I will be here, I promise you, tomorrow. Until next time, everybody, let's all spread awareness. Let's carry the education forward. Good to see everybody.